Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood to maturity, and youth to age, from innocence to awareness, and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. These words, which were penned by Rabbi Alvin Fine, really express the Jewish philosophy of life and of death. And they tell us that we come here in grief, but we also come here as much as we can with a measure of gratefulness. Grateful that God blessed the world with the life of Gail Weiss. Our Jewish funeral service is fairly simple. It consists of some reading, some psalms, some reflections, and concludes with the El Mole Rachamim prayer. We'll continue now with the words of the 23rd Psalm. If you know them, please feel free to join me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. At the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember Gail Weiss, for she's now a part of us as we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. As long as we live, Gail too shall live, for she is now a part of us as we remember her. Now I'd like to invite up daughter Karen, who will share some memories.
I sat down to write this before Mom died. I was in a chair next to her hospital bed, and as I watched her sleep, I took comfort in knowing that she wasn't in pain and that she knew she was loved. Oh my God, was she loved? Which is truly ironic because, grandkids aside, she wasn't really a loving person. But I digress. Those of you who had the pleasure of knowing my dad know how often he said, "Your mom is always right." Those who had the pleasure of knowing my mom knew that she was, in fact, always right. On Friday, November 11th, when decisions had to be made about her care, she said, "We'll decide Tuesday." On Friday, November 11th, On Friday, November 11th, when decisions had to be made about her care, she said, "We'll decide Tuesday." We made the gut-wrenching decision to let her go on November 15th, a Tuesday. As I said, always right. It's virtually impossible to summarize or speak to an entire life. She wouldn't want me waxing on about her, so I'll get right to it. Losing your mother is a deeply painful experience. It comes with a hurricane of emotions, processing, and reflection, and I barely scratched the surface. The good news is that she's with my dad, who's been patiently waiting for her since July of 1993. He has a seat for her at the poker table with Grandma and Zadie, Auntie Rose and Uncle Norman, Auntie Molly and Uncle Marv, Artie and Marv, Sue and Steve. Dang, that's a full table. When you think of a typical mom, you think devoted, adoring, and loving. You think carpool driving, in the kitchen making dinner, by your bedside telling stories kind of mom. That wasn't my mom. And that's okay. She was that kind of grandma, though. But instead of in the kitchen making dinner, she was in a restaurant ordering dinner. My mom was a unique human, dare I say superhuman, who meant more to me than words can describe. She was strong, fiercely independent, creative, and funny. Oh my God, was she funny. She was a self-made business person, had the memory of an elephant, was extremely supportive when she agreed with what I was doing, and was one of the smartest people I knew. And when my dad died at age 53, she became my everything. For me, Mom was the first person I went to for advice. For me, Mom was the first person I went to advice and the first person I looked to for approval. As you know, Mom wasn't a big fan of talking, but she wasn't. Mom was a big fan of talking, but she wasn't a big fan of talking about herself. I called her every morning, and she remembered everything I told her. Every call would start out the same. "Good morning, how are you?" She said, "I'm fine." Then she'd say, "Hold on," and would turn down Fox News. Then she'd mumble, "It's a circus in here." I'd ask her what she'd been up to. I'd ask about the weather, what she had for dinner, if she found any good CD rates. And then she'd change the subject and start asking about whatever we spoke about the day before, the week before, even the month before. She asked about my clients, my projects, my plans for the weekend. She asked what I'm planning on cooking for the week. And she'd ask about my friends, Shelley, Joe, Grady, Jessica, Ann. She remembered things I'd long forgotten about. It was truly amazing. I know my calls were of value to her, because if I didn't call for more than 2 days, she'd call me. Mom really didn't pick up the phone to call people. It wasn't anything personal, just calling people. It wasn't her thing. I spent the night with Mom in the hospital the day before she stopped speaking. We talked about miscellaneous stuff for 2.5 hours like we did every day. And before she fell asleep, she said, "I love you." I know she loved me because she told me. I cannot reconcile that I'll never hear her voice again, but I'll always remember it. So, Mom, thank you for teaching me the value of an education. Thank you for teaching me to be financially savvy. Thank you for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. Thank you for supporting me even when I did dumb stuff. Thank you for teaching me never to rely on anybody but myself. Thank you for the tough love, and most of all, thank you for being you. To the world, you are one person, but to me, you are the world. Rest well, Mom. Know that I know what's true. And please know wherever you are, you will always be with me and us in my heart.
Such powerful, meaningful words. And there's this wonderful story in Jewish tradition, and it's about two ships. They're each floating near land. One of the ships is going into the harbor, and the other is going out from it. Everyone's cheering the outgoing ship, giving it a wonderful, hearty send-off. But the incoming ship is scarcely noticed. And a wise man standing nearby chastised the people's reactions. "Rejoice not," he said, "over the ship that is setting out to sea. For you know not what destiny awaits it, what storms it may encounter, what dangers lurk before it. Rejoice rather over the ship that has reached port safely and brought back all its passengers in peace." It is the way of the world that when a human being is born, everyone rejoices. When a loved one dies, we all feel sorrow. According to this story, we can also struggle to see it the opposite way. Nobody knows what troubles await the developing child on its journey through life. When a person has lived well and lived a full life, all can take comfort in the knowledge that she has completed her journey successfully. Gail Weiss made such a successful journey through life. She was a wonderful mom, as we just heard. Probably even more wonderful grandma, as we just heard. But she also forged a career as a successful travel agent, having her own agency for, I think, 40 years, helping people, creating an entire business by word of mouth. She had a great sense of humor. She cared deeply about education, helping support her grandchildren. She would have a wonderful 4th of July party right next to the fireworks where everybody came. I think somebody said last night on the phone, everybody would leave with a full heart and a full stomach. She traveled extensively. She truly was somebody that people could connect to, even in her own way, her own character. And in Jewish tradition, the way we honor a loved one, the way we remember a loved one, is by saying the words, Zichrona Livracha. May her memory be a blessing. These words convey the purpose of a well-lived life. That those who know you, those who come after you, those who remember you, look to your life as a blessing, a benediction, and an inspiration. Being a blessing means that you have touched the lives of those you knew, and that you have helped them to do the same for others. For Lisa and Karen and Michael and Kim, for Sydney and Kelsey and Olivia and Liam and Ella and Ben and Hannah and Alan and Carrie and Vicky and Cindy and Jim and all of her friends and family, people whose lives she touched and who touched hers. Zecher Tzadik Livracha. May the memory of Gail Weiss endure among us as an everlasting blessing. God, you give us loved ones. You make them the strength of our life in the light of our eyes. They depart and leave us bereft on a lonely way, but you are the living fountain from which our healing flows. To you, the stricken look for comfort and the sorrow-laden for consolation. God, we see life is through windows that open on eternity. We see that love endures, the soul endures, as you, O God, endure forever. We see that the years are more than grass that withers, more than flowers that fade. They weave a timeless pattern in a world that is a dwelling place of your love and your glory. I'd ask you now, if you're comfortably able, to please rise as we say our final prayer in the chapel. El Malay Rachamim, Shochen Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachar Shechina, Im Kiddoshim v'Toharim Kazorhar Ha'akiyam Asirim Et Nishmat Gail Weiss Shechacha La'olama Baha Rachamim Yaskireha B'Seter Kanafav La'olamim Vayitrur B'Tur Chaim Et Nishmata Adonai Hu Nachalata V'Tanuach V'Shalom Amishkava V'Nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our beloved Gail Weiss, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and may her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. For you, the eternal God, are her inheritance. May she rest in peace, and let us all say, Amen.
This concludes the service here at the chapel. The interment will be right outside the mausoleum chapel. We're going to make a right, and then it's like kitty corner from here. At the conclusion of the interment, the family will be getting together at the Weiss residence, 882 Cherokee Road in Lake Forest, where they'll be there until 7 p.m. tonight, and then tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 9 p.m. If we can have everybody please rise, have all the grandchildren come forward who are going to act as pallbearers, and then for those that have coats, we'll bundle up, and then we'll walk across to the burial site.